rear-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, all-wheel drive. How do we handle them on track, and why? That's what we're talking about today on The Racing Line. Let's start with the classic sports car layout. Engine in the front, power in the back. Because of this, rear drive is well balanced. For track work, this is the ideal configuration for two-wheel drive. Acceleration out of corners naturally transfers weight to the driven wheels in the back, improving traction as we roll on the gas leaving a corner. Here's what's tricky about rear drive. It swings both ways. A little power causes understeer, a light front. A lot of power causes oversteer, wheel spin. But also a sudden liftoff causes oversteer, a light rear. And a bad downshift will cause the fastest spin you ever saw, a locked rear. Despite rear-wheel drive's pitfalls, they are instantly forgivable for the fact that it allows classic power oversteer and drifting. Woo-hoo-hoo! Yeah! And if you couldn't tell, I like drifting. Now let's move on to the most popular drivetrain on the planet, front-wheel drive. But if rear-wheel drive is what God intended cars to be, how come front-wheel drive is so popular? Well, it's less complicated, cheaper to build, and the powertrain doesn't invade the cabin, giving you more room for your friends in a small package. Its biggest dynamic advantage is the powertrain mounted over the front wheels, giving better traction in slippery conditions. But front drive isn't all cherry, and this is a good time to explain it on the Tire Rack Minute. Front-wheel drive can be a real detriment to the pursuit of fast lap times. Those poor little front tires have got to do almost everything. The acceleration, the steering, and most of the braking. At the track, when two tires are asked to do too much, they get hot, and that heat causes premature wear and slower lap times. Another problem turns up in one of the classic traits of a front-wheel drive car, torque steer. Torque steer happens when torque from spirited acceleration pulls the car to one side. It's a byproduct of the front wheels being asked to do too many things. But that is not front-wheel drive's worst offense. That happens when you win, because then you'll be doing the world's lamest victory donuts. Boring! Wait, I got it! We've done rear, we've done front. So what does that leave us? How about all of the above? All-wheel drive. It's the best of both worlds, right? Well, yes and no. All-wheel drive adds stability and traction under power, but on the negative, also adds weight because of the extra components needed to drive all the wheels. The added weight makes the car slower and puts added wear on the components. Now that you know the ins and outs of each drivetrain, well, you'd better know how to handle each differently at the track. Power to the rear is the traditional norm. So let's start with the rear-wheel drive. The technique for cornering on a rear drive goes like this. Brake hard and straight, and then very lightly as you turn in, rotating as you aim for the apex. Then ease onto the gas, transferring weight back, then roll it on as you straighten out the wheel right on the edge. So remember, rotation is fast. Too much drifting is slow. Front drive, as you might expect, responds to acceleration quite a bit differently than rear drive. Adding throttle in a rear drive car can kick the tail out, but in a front drive car, with the wheels pulling from the front, it will do the opposite and straighten the car. The best technique for getting around a corner quickly is to start with a trail brake and put weight on the nose. Then aim for a late apex. If you start to get off-throttle oversteer, begin adding power to balance and straighten the car. Next, all-wheel drive. It can handle a lot like front-wheel drive on track, depending heavily on how power is distributed front to rear. The best part about all-wheel drive is you have all four wheels clawing you out of the corner. For the best technique, Apex later than you would in a two-wheel drive counterpart. Let your tail slide and get on the throttle early. Nothing comes out of the corner as ferociously as an all-wheel drive car. So many drivetrains, so little time. Pick your config, driving enthusiasts, and we'll see you next time on The Racing Line. If you like watching The Racing Line, here's a teaser for the next episode, live right now on Motor Trend On Demand. There are loads of driving styles, but only one way to turn the best lap time. And what's the best driving style for that? Smooth or aggressive. And that's what we're talking about today on The Racing Line. Watch the latest episode of The Racing Line right now on Motor Trend On Demand.